Greetings and welcome back to the lesson. In today's lesson, we are going to study the industry and sector analysis. Industry and sector analysis. We begin by industry analysis. Industry analysis, which is a crucial aspect of strategic analysis because it delves into the dynamics, the structure, and the competitive landscape of specific industry in which a business operates. So this analysis provides valuable insights into the factors that influence profitability, growth potential, and also the competitive positioning within the industry. So what are some of the key components of industry analysis? Components. What are the components? The first component is definition, industry definition and scope. When carrying out industry analysis, it's important or critical to define industry scope. What is the scope? And here, the company ought to clearly define the boundaries of the industry by identifying key players, products, services, and so on. Identify key players. Who are the key players in the industry? What are the products, key products in the industry? In defining the industry, one has to identify the key players, the products, the services, the target markets, and so on. So that is one aspect of industry definition and scope. Another aspect is understanding the industry scope, including its size, scope, including the size. What is the size of the industry? What is the growth rate? What are the overall trends? Growth rates, the trends in the industry, and so on. That is the second aspect of industry definition and scope. First of all, when carrying out in industry analysis, you define you identify the key players in the industry, the key products, the services, the target markets, and so on. Then you check the size. What is the size of the industry? What are the growth rates within that industry? To understand the growth rates and the overall trends. That is the first aspect of industry analysis. Then the second aspect is industry structure. Industry structure, as well as the competitive forces. When carrying out industry analysis, it's important to check the industry structure and also the competitive forces. Analyze industry structure, and when analyzing industry structure, one key tool is the Porter's 5 forces framework. In carrying out, for one to understand the competitive forces within an industry, the Porter's 5 forces framework comes in handy, which assesses the bargaining power of the suppliers, the bargaining power of the buyers, the threats of new entrants, and also the substitute products or services, and the intensity of competitive rivalry. Those are competitive forces. The Porter's five forces framework can help one to understand the competitive forces of an industry. And one can then identify the key competitive forces that are most relevant to the industry and understand their impact on profitability. The third aspect of industry analysis is industry life cycle. Industry life cycle. That is to say, determining the current stage of the industry life cycle. All right. One, determine the current stage of the industry cycle. Determine the current stage of the industry cycle. Is the industry at the introduction phase? Is it at the growth phase? Is it at the maturity phase? Or is it at decline phase? That is if it is at introduction, growth, maturity, or decline. These are the phases that we are talking about. These are an industry undergoes through various stages. First of all, there is the introduction phase, the growth phase, maturity phase, and decline phase. So when carrying out industry analysis, it's important to check the current stage of the industry life cycle. You understand? And also, in analyzing the industry, one should endeavor to understand the characteristics and the challenges that are associated with each and every stage. What are the characteristics of introductory stage? What are the challenges? What are the at the maturity, at the decline, and so on? Understanding the characteristics and the challenges that are associated with each stage and how they influence the competitive dynamics and the strategic choices. That is industry life cycle. Industry life cycle. Then number 4 is key success factors. Key success factors. What are the key success factors? Identify the crucial factors that determine success within the industry. You understand? Identify the critical factors. Identify the critical factors that determine success within the industry. When carrying out industry analysis, it's important to identify the key success factors. These are the factors that determine success within the industry. And this could include factors like cost leadership. It could be differentiation. This could be the factors that can help a company to succeed within a given industry. It could be brand reputation, innovation, brand reputation, and so on. What are the key success factors? It could be anything. It could be distribution channels. It could be customer service. It could be technological capabilities, and so on. So one should seek to understand how these key success factors evolve over time and how they contribute and how competitors are addressing them. So when analyzing the industry, these are some of the things we need to consider. Key successful factors: brand reputation. Let me add technological capabilities, etc. So this is the fourth aspect. Number 5. Now, in analyzing the industry, the fifth thing to do is to analyze industry trends and drivers. Industry trends and drivers. Industry trends and drivers. Analyze the key trends and drivers that are shaping the industry, including regulatory changes, like regulatory changes, technological advancements. Identify the industry trends and drivers like regulatory changes, technological advancements. You may have things like economic shifts, economic shifts. You may have demographic trends, and so on. Customer preferences, demographic trends, etc. So that is one thing to do when looking at the industry trends and drivers. Another thing is to anticipate how these trends will impact the industry's future. Anticipate how the trends like regulatory changes, the trends like technological advancements, economic shifts, demographic trends, one has to anticipate how these trends will impact the future, and then identify potential opportunities and threats. So one can study an industry's current trends, including the technological and even the economic shifts, then anticipate how such trends will impact the industry's future. When that is determined, then it becomes very easy to identify the potential opportunities and threats, so that such potential opportunities, the company can start preparing on how it's going to exploit such opportunities, and also start preparing on how it can deal with the threats that may be posed by these industry trends and drivers. That is number 5. Number 6, this component is industry attractiveness. Industry attractiveness. Now, when analyzing industry attractiveness, one has to evaluate the overall attractiveness of the industry based on factors such as profitability, factors such as growth potential, profitability, growth potential. We have factors such as barriers to entry, barriers to entry, and many other factors. There are many factors that one can identify. It could be competitive intensity, regulatory environment, and so on. Those determine the attractiveness of the industry. So it's important to evaluate the overall attractiveness of the industry based on factors that I've mentioned. Then once that is done, then determine whether the industry is attractive for new entrants or existing players. that are seeking growth. So that is all as for the industry analysis. We've said that there are various components, ways in which this can be carried out. One we said is through industry definition and scope. In defining the industry, one has to identify the key players in the industry, the products, services, and target market. There's also the aspect of the scope. What is the size of the industry? What are the growth rates in the industry? What are the trends in the industry? All this can help to define the industry. Then the second stage is checking the industry structure and competitive forces. And we said when analyzing competitive forces, one can use the Porter's 5 forces framework. Number 3 is to identify the life cycle, determining the current stage of the industry's life cycle, including whether it is at introduction, at growth, maturity, or at decline stage. And when looking at the industry life cycle, one can check the characteristics of the characteristics of the industry at each and every stage, whether it is growth, maturity, decline, or introduction. The fourth aspect is key success factors. When carrying out industry analysis, identify the critical factors that determine success within the industry. And that could be cost leadership, differentiation, innovation, technological capabilities, brand reputation, and so on. Then number 4, we have said analyze industry trends and drivers. We've given examples of industry trends and drivers, demographic trends, technological advancements, economic shifts, regulatory changes, and so on. Then lastly, analyze industry attractiveness. And that involves evaluating the overall attractiveness of the industry based on factors such as profitability, growth, barriers to entry, regulatory environment, and so on. Then we've said that one or two also determine whether the industry is attractive for new entrants or existing players. So currently, this industry analysis is a critical tool for businesses to understand their competitive landscape and also make informed strategic decisions. It is part of the scanning of the environment. And by analyzing the industry structure, the trends, the key success factors, the industry life cycle, the industry attractiveness, the industry trends and drivers, the business can identify opportunities, the business can mitigate threats, it can also develop strategies that drive sustainable growth and profitability. So that is the end of the lesson. Assignment. Question 1. In what ways do regulatory policies and government intervention shape the dynamics of an industry, and what proactive measures can businesses take to ensure compliance while advocating for favorable regulatory environments? Number 2. How do technological advancements and disruptive innovations influence the competitive landscape within an industry? And what strategies can incumbent firms adopt to remain competitive and adapt to such changes? 3. How do you assess the bargaining power of suppliers and buyers? And what strategies can companies employ to mitigate potential risks or leverage favorable conditions? Then lastly, within the context of industry analysis, what are the key forces shaping competition, and how might they impact a company's strategic decisions and market positioning? That is your today's assignment. In the next session, we will move to sector analysis. Bye.